Okay, for question 10, it says simplify x to the power of 5 in brackets with the power of 3 outside the bracket. Now, with indices, we're timesing those two together, these two indices. So you can see it's x and 5 times 3, which is 15. And that's the answer to that one. So for question 11, it says use trial and improvement to find a solution of the equation. It gives you this equation here. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. You must show all your work in. Now, what I've done here is I've started with the 3. It doesn't give you a number here to start with. So basically, we're just kind of picking a number and hoping for the best, really. So we start with 3 and we substitute into this expression here. So 3 squared plus 3 divided by 2. And we should get 10.5. When we compare it to the 15, it is too small. So we go to 4. So we have to go up the way for this one. So we substitute it again. So it's 4 squared plus 4 divided by 2, which is 18. Check it with the 15, it's too big. So we know that this one's too small and this one's too big, so it's somewhere in between. So we start with 3.6. So I've taken the 3.6 and 3.6 squared plus 3.6 divided by 2, and it's 14.76. Compare it with the 15, it is too small. 3.7 is the same, just do exactly the same as we've done before, and we should get 15.54, which is too big. So it's 3.6 is too small, 3.7 is too big. Now, because it says 1 decimal place, these two numbers here are 1 decimal place. So one of those numbers is going to be the answer. So the way we kind of figure this out is basically getting the halfway between those two numbers, which is 3.65. So we substitute it in just like we did previously, and we had 15.1475, which is too big. So what I've done here is just put an addition here, is basically just a line with 3.6 and 3.7 at each end, and in between we have the 3.65. Now we know that 3.65 was too big and 3.7 was too big. So the answer is probably going to be closer to the 3.6. So that would be the final answer to 1 decimal place, would be 3.6. Question 12, Kate plays the game Throw the Beanbag. She records the number of times she gets the beanbag in the bonus hole. So basically, she threw it 10 times and got it in the bonus hole twice. And this is how it's been written down in this table here. So write down the best estimate for the probability that Kate gets the beanbag in the bonus hole if she continues throwing, and give a reason for your answer. So for this one, I've put 104 out of 200. Because the more throws, the better the estimate. So it becomes more reliable. The more trials you do, the more attempts you have, the probability gets more accurate or more reliable. So for question B, Kate continues with her game and throws a total of 300 times. Calculate the number of times you would expect her to get the beanbag in the bonus hole. So for this one we're using 104 out of 200 because this is the most reliable probability, and we just times it with 300. When you put that into a calculator, you would find that it's 156 times that you would get it in the bonus hole for 300 attempts. For question 13, the position of 2 airport control towers A and B are shown. What is the bearing of B from A? So I know I've drew everything out from this question, but the first thing that you would do here is to connect those two together, A and B. And you would draw a north line from A because it says from A. You would get your protractor and you would put it here, and you would measure the bearing, and you find that it is 156 here. 156 degrees. you measure clockwise. So it has to be clockwise to measure the bearing. And that's basically it. So it's 156 for question 13A. For the second part of the question, you can see it says the two towers pick up a distress signal from a plane. The bearing of the plane from A is 110 degrees. The bearing from the plane from B is 50 degrees. Find and mark the position of the plane with the P on the diagram. So if we go back to the diagram, what we're doing is we measure clockwise from A, 110 degrees from this one, okay? And we draw a line. Just draw a line across. Then from position B, we measure clockwise 50 degrees and we just draw a line until they cross one another. Where they cross is where the position is, and you put P at that point. So for question 14, it's a simultaneous equation. So Pete orders cold meals and hot meals on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. On Monday, he got 16 cold meals and 3 hot meals. He paid £74. On Tuesday, he got 20 cold meals and 7 hot meals. He paid £112. Now, these are the two that you would use as simultaneous equations. The next part is basically getting the cost of everything for Wednesday, using the answers you get from these first two sentences here. So first of all, we label cold meals X and hot meals Y. And we've got 16X. So for Monday, it's 16X plus 3Y equals 74. For the Tuesday, it was 20X plus 7Y equals 112. Now, the first thing we need to do is to find out whether we need to get rid of the X or the Y. For this one, I've getting rid of the Y's first. So how to do that, we have to times this first equation by 7, so that gets 21y, and then we times the second equation by 3, which means the y would become 21y as well. So we can see here, we have 112x plus 21y equals 518. And that now becomes equation 3. And then we have 60x plus 21y equals 336. Now, because these signs in front of the 21y are the same, we are taking these two equations away. So we've got 112 take away 60 is 52x. The 21 take away 21 is gone, it's 0. And then 518 take away 336 is 182. And now we've got an equation, we've got 52x equals 182. Now what we've got is 182 divided by 52. And then when we work that out, it's 3.5 or £3.50. So once we've got the x, now we're looking for the y part of it. So what we're doing is we substitute it into equation 1 for this one. So the x is the 3.5, so it's 16 times 3.5, which we have here, plus 3y equals 74. Now this is 74 take away 56, which is 18. And then 18 divided by 3, which is 6. So now we've got £3.50 and £6 if you were looking at it in money terms. Right, so we've got this, and then we look at the Wednesday part. On Wednesday, he got 10 cold meals and 8 hot meals. So we know the cold meals is the X part, so it's 10 times 3.5. And we know that the Y is £6, or the hot meals, so it's 8 times 6. And we put that in a calculator, and we got £83. So that's what it would have cost on Wednesday. So for question 15, it is changing the subject. So rearrange to make z the subject of x equals the square root of y times z. So the first thing we have to do is to get rid of this square root. We square both sides and that would become x squared equals y times z. Next, we want to get rid of the y. So the y would come across. So this is times them together. So it's x squared and it's the opposite of x squared divided by y. And that's what we've got written here, which is equal to z. And then z is equal to x squared over y. So for question 16, the probability that the first person to cross a footbridge in the morning as a child is 0.05. The probability that the first vehicle to pass under the footbridge as a tractor is 0.12. Complete the tree diagram to show this information. So we've kind of labelled this one child and not child. So we have, that's two options we have. 0.05 would be the probability of that for the child to cross. But then if there's no child, it would be 0.95 as these both have to add up to 1. Next part of it is tractor and not tractor. And then it says the probability the first vehicle to pass under the footbridge is a tractor 0.12, so that's what the tractor is for. So if there's no tractor, the probability of no tractor crossing the footbridge is 0.88, which again means when you add them up should add up to 1. And that's the same for the bottom one as well, 0.12 and 0.88. For question B, it says, what is the probability that the first person to cross is a child and the first vehicle to pass under is not a tractor? So what we're looking at is the probability of 0.05. So we look at the tree diagram, is first person is a child and not a tractor, is basically not a tractor here. So these are the two numbers that we multiply together. So it's 0.05 times 0.88, which is equal to the probability of 0.044.